Did you enjoy driving the Cup Series?
I did if we had a good car.
Yeah.
But when I knew that we were behind, it was like, no, I didn't. Actually, when I drove DEI's car that time at
When did you do
Talladega, man, that was, I forget what year.
In Cup?
Yeah. What happened is with Michael Waltrip, I had a sponsor do just like one race, Cup race at Atlanta. And I think it rained out qualifying. Something happened where it rained it out. I guess it was the next week I called Michael. I said, hey, let me ask you something. What if I want to change races? He said, what do you mean? I said, well, we still got to run Atlanta. I said, but let's say I don't want to run there. I want to run Talladega. I said, but I want it to be DEI car. He goes, let me make a call. So he called me back, and he said it was X amount of dollars more to like go retest. So it's like, hey, I'm fine with that. So we did. So I tested one of the DEI cars that I was going to drive in Michael's car, and I think it was Jason Keller's testing yours in the one car. Well, Michael's car was a rocket. The car I was in was 0.6 of a second off. And we did everything chassis. And, days over, like, well, we're done with the chassis. I'm like, what are you talking about? They said, well, the aero guys are flying down tomorrow. The aero guys come down, and dude, that car, when they were done with it, was 0.06 of a second. It's like they were putting like little Loctite bottles up there on the nose. They'd watch how it blow back. And Michael's car drove like a Cadillac. The one I was driving, like both hands on the wheel. Well, the problem was we're done, and the guys come in and are like, hey, man, you're fixing to get screwed. I'm like, what are you talking about? They're like, the one car is like really bad, and they're going to swap cars. And I was like, oh, hell no. So I grabbed a screwdriver, and they didn't know. I got in the car, and I marked it. I called Michael. I was like, hey, man, I said, what's the deal?
You took a screwdriver and marked the interior of the car so you could see the mark.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I called Michael. He goes, look, man, I've already talked to them. You're keeping that car. They're just going to bring back something different. And I was like, cool. So come back for the race, and when I go walking in the garage, all the guys, heads down. I'm like, what's going on? They're like, man, they screwed you, man. They screwed you. And I'm like, what are you talking about? They swapped cars. So I jumped in the car. I looked. I'm like, no, hell no, it's the same car. They're like, how do you know? I said, because I marked it. And they're like, well, we marked it too. And it was like funny back then. But that car, God, man, that car was incredible.
Yeah.
That was probably the most fun I've had, like on the super speedways.
Yeah.
But it was something I think they were using your sign, the 8, and I think they had it turned sideways because they didn't have mine. Well, I'm used to seeing 0.
Yeah.
Well, I skidded through, and we just changed. It was either lefts or rights, and I guess flat spotted and blew the tire. And I told Michael after that test that if you don't win this race, it's your own fault. And by God, he won the race.
Yeah.
That's funny that they thought a sideways 8 would look just like a 0.
When do you think you had the most fun as a driver?
Early on, it was a lot of fun, and I kind of liked it more when, you could borrow someone's gear, or if you were off on your car, people kind of help you out with setup, and then like each year it started getting away because it's a business. I mean, you're competing with this other guy. So I'd say probably 97, 98 were probably the most fun for
in
me.
the Xfinity Series, in the Busch Series.
Yep.
All right.
Well, we haven't even talked about your wins.
Yeah.
I mean, you win twice in the Xfinity Series.
Yeah.
Well, I talked to Kyle a little bit this weekend, and Kyle told me that he thought you really never wanted to be a Cup racer, that you really enjoyed the super late model stuff and racing in the Busch Series, and that he felt like that maybe your dad and maybe other things around you kind of steered you toward that direction. Like it was, like you said when you sat down here, your dad told you when we get successful in this level, we're moving up,
Mm-hmm.
and you kept doing that all the way to the very top. And maybe you, in your heart, weren't that obsessed with becoming a cup racer. You just wanted to have fun racing that, and maybe where you were having fun was not going to be in the Cup Series. It was more because the business side of it wasn't as enjoyable.
No, I mean, Cup is where I wanted to be, and I was used to, maybe being like in the All-American division or late model stocks. And, if you got competitive, you move up. You don't stay and win races. This is what the plan is. So with the Xfinity Series, that's like a bigger leap to me going from there and going into Cup. So, yeah, you'd be disappointed at times, but you knew, hey, there was going to be a setback. When you jump up like that, all right, things
Start from scratch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I guess when we went Cup racing, since I kind of understood a little bit of the business side of it and other things, it was like, hey, we're behind. We got to take a step back. Otherwise, we're going to have like the whole season like this. And we did. And then there were some issues. Ricky ended up leaving and went to the Petties,
Did your relationship with Ricky stay sour?
No.
Yeah.
It was when he left.
Right. Y'all sorted it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'll talk to him a couple times a year. I don't like holding grudges against people or being mad at people like over time like that. And me and him always had good times, went hunting, did other stuff together.
When did you stop racing?
Stopped racing full time in 2002.
Why?
Got let go at Petty's.
I know, but why did you quit? Why didn't you keep racing?
Actually, I was going to. I talked to some other teams, and I just said, man, if I'm going back, I want to be in something that'll be competitive.
Where? Who?
The other teams, I forget exactly.
Was it Cup, Xfinity, or?
Both. But then ended up talking to James Finch and flew down there and met with James, and he said, look, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to run X amount of Busch races, X amount of Cup races. Well, I knew James, hey, he was going to have the best that he could have, and you're going to give the best opportunity. Well, my wife at the time, we'd had our first child, and she was pregnant with our second one. And I guess I got let go in April, and this was probably, I don't know, around September or something. Talked to James and did like a handshake. And he said, you need a contract? I'm like, no. I said, handshake's good enough for me. And when I told her, she said, no, you're done with racing. And I'm like,
Your wife said that?
And I'm like, this is what I do. She says, yeah, but we got a family now. And I'm like, I just thought, hey, with her being pregnant, her second child.
Race a little less.
A couple of days later, it's like, either you're quitting or we're getting divorced. And probably another week went on. And to me, family was always first for me. And when my first son was born, they take you out of the delivery room, they'll take the baby, clean it up, and you see him in there. Well, for some reason, maybe babies that were born premature or something was wrong, they had the curtain part open. And man, when I saw like tubes and things like that, I mean, like tears come to my eyes.
What was going on?
I don't know what was wrong with the other kids, but it's just seeing the kids like that, tore me up.
Yeah.
And I told Dad, I'm like, when my son that was just born, I said, when he turns 5 or 6, I'm done with racing. I said, I'm not going to, if he's going to play sports, at 5 years old, I'm not missing it. Yeah. I said, it was just a weird moment at that time, I guess seeing those other, babies that way, like, I'm not going to miss this.
And when did that happen?
He was born November of 2001.
All right. So you had no problems then stopping?
No. I would have probably stopped like in 2006, 2007.
All right. So
that was what
you had
your
it in
plan
your mind.
was.
You had a plan.
Yeah.
It just expedited it a bit.
When you got all right, so when the racing season starts in February of 2003, I guess, and you you're not there, you're not doing it. Was it weird?
Yeah. It was weird for a couple years.
Couple years.
Yeah.
Did you have a hard time with that or no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were you doing?
Actually,
Running the farm?
no, my dad was doing some like land developing with another guy. The other guy kind of handled everything. He was a home builder in Georgia, which it used to be Meridian Home. Now they're Reliant. And he's like, you like the outdoors. He goes, go work with, him, learn the development. He goes, you can make, good money doing it. So I ended up getting involved in that probably mid '03, I think it was. And then just kind of.
But so back to his question then. Now that we know what you're doing, did you hate it? Did you hate doing that because you weren't racing? You said you had a couple years where you struggled.
Yeah, but it was sitting and not really doing anything made it worse. Yeah. So if you got out there developing, you did like, outdoors, all that stuff, it kind of took your mind off of it. But, missed it. And, once probably a year or two passed, it started getting easier because like you were out of it in a way. So you're not used to doing it all the time. But regretting it, nah, I mean, like I said, family to me was always the most important. I wish I would have raced for several more years, but that's just not the way it happened.
So you did have that 2003 Dega race with Michael in the DEI car you mentioned. But after that, you never drove anything.
Yeah. I drove, I'm trying to think. I think I drove a couple of Hooters races.
Yeah.
And then.
What did you think about that? Fun?
I mean, I like getting back in the car.
Yeah.
But, that was probably 3 years after I'd got out.
Yep.
Yeah, you can tell you're rusty when you've not been in a car for a while. And, I didn't expect, hey, I'm going to jump in the Hooters car and go win and all this. It's just like, hey, this will be fun. But I knew I would not get back into it, full time. It was just more driving it for a couple of races. So, yeah, I had a good time doing it.
Why'd you stop?
I think that team, they ended up dissolving.
Yeah. But, I mean, you've got enough of resources of your own to just pedal.
What you were saying, I looked at that. A guy I used to race with at Lanier, Wayne Willard, he was helping another team out, and I went to the race at Lanier. And just like seeing the cars, the things that they're doing, and got to talking to them like, hey, man, what does that cost? I'm like, this. It's like, man, you start to like, here's $100,000, here's $150,000. It's like, you know what? I think I'll just stick with
what you're doing.
Yeah.
I'm surprised though that you're not an owner of a car or anything like that. Even just to because once it's in your blood,
Yeah.
But because you look healthy, you look great. You look like you're doing well physically.
Yes.
Like you could jump behind the wheel right now and go drive something.
It'd be fun.
How old are you?
51.
51.
God.
How old's your kids?
18 and 19.
Wow.
Yeah. What's that like? How was it being a dad? Like growing up. So I got 2 little girls, 3 years old and 10 months. All right. So what was being a dad like? How did you enjoy that?
Being a father is like the best time of your life.
Did you get to do all the things you wanted to do? When you quit racing, you get to go all the games. You get to go do all the dad things.
Yes. I mean, everything. Doctor's appointments, teachers, anything that involved them, they came first, no matter what, always.
How much of the racer Buckshot Jones do they know, or do they want to discuss, or do they ask about?
They did like years ago, and they'll still bring it up at times, like their friends and stuff used to race, but no, I mean, it's not talked about a lot.
All right, guys, I know a little bit about cars, so believe me when I tell you that Tire Pros, they're the real deal. They've got great people, great service, and they can take care of all your automotive maintenance needs. Plus, they're a sponsor of this show, so they got great taste in podcasts. So check out Tire Pros. Follow them on Facebook and tell them that I sent you.